Hey everyone, welcome back. Ever feel a little like you're standing at a crossroads trying to figure out which way to go,
Mm.
especially when it comes to like choosing a career path, right?
Oh, yeah.
Well, today we're diving into a report that's all about helping students like you navigate those decisions.
That's right. We're talking about a report put together by Life Skill Foundation.
My skill foundation.
Yeah, yeah, they're an organization based in Ahmedabad in India, and they've been around since 2011, doing some really great work, really being a guiding light for students, helping them, empowering them to make those informed career choices, which is so important.
Yeah, it's huge. And they've actually prepared this report specifically with students in mind, right?
Absolutely. Grades 8 through 12, they're thinking about parents, even teachers and counselors, anyone who wants to help these students, these young minds, sort of figure out what they might want to do and how to have, that fulfilling future.
That's amazing. And this specific report focuses on a field that I think is really interesting, but a lot of people don't totally understand. Statisticians.
Yeah, and it's interesting that they chose this. They saw a need because obviously in a world that's becoming so data-driven, statisticians are more and more in demand, but what do they actually do?
Right. That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's easy to just picture them hunched over spreadsheets all day. But this report kind of paints a much more dynamic picture.
Oh, yeah.
It does. It describes them more as like data detectives, uncovering hidden clues, solving mysteries. But instead of fingerprints, they're using numbers.
I like that, data detectives.
Right.
Yeah.
So how do you know if you're the type of person who would be good at this kind of work?
Right.
Well, the report dives into that too. One of the things they found is that people who are naturally investigative, they love to ask why. They're curious about how things work. Those types of people often gravitate towards this field.
It makes sense, right? It's not just about being, a whiz with numbers. It's about really wanting to dig deeper, find the story behind the data.
And that drive to uncover that story, that's actually what the report calls the investigative personality type. So if you're always asking why, that might be you.
It could be.
And then there's another side to it, too. They talk about the realistic side. And these are the folks who, they're very practical. They want to see their work have a real impact on the world.
Mm.
And in statistics, there are so many possibilities for that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, imagine using data to actually, improve public health policies or make businesses run more efficiently.
Yeah.
Or even develop new medical treatments. We're talking about using those analytical skills to solve real-world problems.
Exactly. And then the last thing they highlight is something they call the conventional aspect. Now, I know that word can sometimes sound a little, boring or predictable.
Right.
But in this case, it's really about appreciating structure, having a knack for organizing information.
Which is important when you're dealing with these large data sets.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
A statistician, they need to be organized. It's like, think of it like building a puzzle.
Right. Yeah. You need all the pieces to be in the right place in order to see that full picture. And in this case, those pieces, they're data points.
I like that analogy. And speaking of the right place, for those students listening who are thinking, okay, this sounds like me, this sounds interesting, how do I actually become a statistician? Well, Life Skill Foundation, they actually lay out a pretty clear roadmap.
They do. They break it down step by step, and they even start at the high school level. So if you're, let's say, currently in 10th grade and you're thinking, hey, this might be my thing, they recommend really focusing on two key areas, math and computer science.
Yeah, build that strong foundation, right? Get that solid base for building that statistical structure, I guess you could say. And then once you've got that foundation, you move on to 11th and 12th grade. They suggest really diving into the science stream, specifically PCM. So that's physics, chemistry, and of course, mathematics.
It's all about building those analytical muscles, right?
Yeah.
Honing those problem-solving skills. But then comes the exciting part, choosing your college path.
Right. And the report really emphasizes the importance of a bachelor's degree, specifically a BSc or a BA in statistics, mathematics, even economics could be a good path.
Yeah, and they actually go a step further, which I thought was really helpful. They actually list out some top colleges in India that are known for their, really strong programs.
Oh, wow.
So for students who are aiming for those, Tier 1 institutions, they mention the Indian Statistical Institute, ISI,
Okay.
St. Stephen's College, Delhi University, of course, the prestigious IITs.
Of course.
But they also recognize that, not everyone, a Tier 1 institution isn't the only path. So they highlight some really great Tier 2 options as well, like Madras Christian College, Ferguson College, University of Hyderabad.
I love that they include those different options,
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think, it's really about recognizing that quality education, it's accessible, it's within reach. And, if you want to stay closer to home, they even suggest exploring some local universities. Gujarat University, Mumbai University, there are a lot of options.
They really are. And one thing I thought was interesting, they even give a little pro tip in here.
Oh, yeah.
They say it's never too early to get a head start. So even while you're in high school, they suggest exploring online learning platforms like Coursera,
Oh, yeah.
Udemy, EDX. These are great places to, start dabbling.
They have so many amazing resources, don't they? I mean, like courses on everything from statistical software like R and Python to like really in-depth data science programs. It's a great way to just gain those practical skills, before you even set foot in a college classroom.
Exactly. Okay, so we've talked about how to become a statistician.
Mm-hmm.
What about the day-to-day? What does it actually look like to be one?
Right. What are you actually doing all day? Well, the report actually breaks that down too. So one of the core tasks, and this probably won't come as a surprise to anyone, is collecting, analyzing, and interpreting data. But here's the thing. It's not just about crunching numbers in isolation. It's about finding the story, that narrative that's hidden within that data.
I see. So it's like you're almost like a detective, right? But instead of, looking for clues at a crime scene, you're piecing together these numbers, these trends, these patterns.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's not just about understanding the what happened. It's about figuring out the why. Why did this happen? What are the underlying causes, the contributing factors?
That's really interesting. And I love how they emphasize that statisticians, they're not just passively receiving data.
Right.
They're actually involved in shaping how that data is collected in the first place.
Oh, absolutely. They talk about designing surveys, planning experiments, setting up observational studies. It's like being an architect, but instead of blueprints, they're crafting ways to collect data that's accurate, it's relevant, and ultimately it tells the story that they need to tell.
I like that. So once they've actually gathered the data, they've analyzed it, then what?
Right. Then it's showtime. They need to be able to present their findings, right?
Okay.
They're communicating with businesses, maybe government agencies, and they're translating those complex data sets into clear, actionable insights.
That's huge. They're kind of like the bridge, right, between the data itself and the people who need that data to make important decisions.
Exactly. So it's really important that they can communicate effectively.
It is.
Tell that compelling story using numbers, using visualizations, and, clear explanations. And of course, we're living in this tech-driven world. No statistician is complete without having a mastery of statistical software. The report highlights tools like R and Python, which are used to analyze and visualize data in such powerful and intuitive ways.
It's about wielding those tools to uncover the secrets that might otherwise stay hidden in that data, to see those patterns. But
Yeah.
it's not just about those technical skills, right?
Oh, absolutely not. And Life Skill Foundation, they do a great job of emphasizing these inherent qualities that can really make or break a successful statistician.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
So they talk about problem solving, obviously, critical thinking, being able to think outside the box, and then that meticulous attention to detail.
Yeah.
Really important when you're working with data. You don't want to miss anything.
Makes sense.
That's what makes a true data detective. They're not just accepting the data at face value. They're thinking, okay, are there any biases we need to consider? Are there missing data points that could be skewing the results? A good statistician, they're going to look for those red flags and adjust accordingly.
Right. Because you can't just have all the information and not know how to share it, right?
Exactly. And that's actually another thing that they emphasize in the report is communication skills. It's one thing to be able to understand the data yourself,
Right.
but being able to explain it to others, especially people who might not be, data experts who aren't fluent in statistics.
Right,
That's
yeah.
a really important skill. It's about meeting people where they are, explaining things clearly and simply, maybe using visuals to help bring that data to life.
Right. So it's almost like storytelling, but with numbers.
Exactly. Exactly. It is storytelling with numbers.
Yeah.
Okay, but speaking of numbers, I know, we got to talk about the practical side of things, right?
Yeah, the job outlook.
Exactly. What is the job outlook for statisticians? And the good news is it's looking really bright.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Life Skill Foundation, they emphasize the growing demand for skilled statisticians, both in India and globally.
So where are these opportunities popping up? Like what kind of industries or fields are we talking about?
Well, in India specifically, they point to a lot of opportunities in IT companies, Research firms, public health organizations, government agencies, there's a really diverse landscape.
So it's not just like you're stuck in one particular track.
No, not at all. And then globally, of course, with data science, machine learning, AI, all of that on the rise, the demand for statisticians, it's just skyrocketed.
It makes sense. Everything's data-driven these days.
It really is. This isn't just a passing trend, this is a career path that has some serious staying power. And, while we're on the topic of career paths, the report actually highlights a few related fields that students might find interesting as well.
Oh, okay. Like what?
So, for example, data analysts.
Okay.
They're often on the front lines, they're cleaning and processing the data, making sure that raw information is ready to be analyzed.
Okay, so they're kind of like setting the stage for the statisticians.
Exactly, exactly. And then you have your data scientists, and they often have a really broad skill set. It encompasses, programming, machine learning, maybe even some specific domain expertise. They might be building predictive models, developing algorithms, that sort of thing.
Wow, so they're really like on the cutting edge.
Oh, yeah, for sure, for sure. And then we can't forget about actuaries. They're using those statistical skills to, assess risk and uncertainty, mostly in the insurance and finance sectors.
Oh, right. So like when you see how they calculate insurance premiums,
Yeah.
that's an actuary.
That's them. That's them. They're the ones figuring all that out.
Wow.
Yeah, and one last example. Market research analysts.
Okay.
They're really delving into consumer behavior, market trends, all of that.
So they're trying to figure out like, what do people want?
Exactly. What are people buying? What are they going to want in the future? It's fascinating stuff.
It is fascinating. And it's really cool to see how like all of these different fields, they're all interconnected.
They are.
And they're all using data in different ways to solve problems and make things better.
Absolutely. It's all about using those analytical skills to really make a difference in the world, which is what Life Skills Foundation, that's what they're all about.
It is.
And they really encourage anyone listening, if this has piqued your interest, reach out to them directly. Their contact info, we'll be sure to include that in the description of the podcast.
Awesome.
They're a fantastic resource.
They're like, what is it? They're like that wise mentor who's always happy to like share their wisdom, their knowledge, and really help guide students as they figure out what they want to do.
Absolutely. So if you're at all intrigued by the world of statistics, you love numbers, you want to learn more, don't hesitate to reach out. You might just discover, your future calling.
That's awesome. And for those of you who love to be on the cutting edge of technology, who love to kind of like step into the future a little bit,
Yes.
well, get ready, because our next deep dive, it's going to transport you to a whole other world. We're going to be exploring the world of virtual reality developers.
Oh, it's going to be a good one.
It is. It is. But until then, keep asking those why questions.
Yes.
And never stop exploring the power of data.